I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So good morning. All I'm going to offer is the truth, right? So do you know that this movie was released how many years ago? 20. Do you know that there's going to be Matrix 4 coming out soon? Oh, nice. So today we're going to speak about how we can improve our cities and our livability in cities, and how to make transforming cities for human flourishing. So let's start with the very basics of how we can look at ourselves. This is a great example, and might be that many of you have seen this, especially those who work in the UX. But let's uncover an invisible social layer under that. Because you see that there is this sidewalk, and there are people like directly crossing the grass, and there's this sign. And the question is, why the sign is not working? Do you know why? They should put the sidewalk there. Too small. Any other options? Shorter. So some utilitarian kind of ideas. Okay, why? One thing you know, but you are not aware of, is the social connection to this image, or the social layer, invisible layer. So if I ask, how many people walk that direct path, what would be your guess? Thousands. So my guess, 10,000. How many people build a sign? Game over. It's 1 against 10,000. This is how we have this innate possibility to see what other people did before. And this is why the sign is not working, because it's 1 person against 10,000. In the same way, we look at other solutions in our lives. So for example, if the problem is, in this case, bad weather, but what the goal for us is to live in comfort. So we build a solution for that. So what solution we build? Obviously, we build a house. So let's move on. Another problem that we have is candles, but we want more light. So we invent electricity. Let's look at another one. So for example, we have a large distance, and we would like to get there faster, so invent a car. So we kind of get into this mood of creating solutions for the external problems to have our inner comfort. And you know, when I see this happening, it looks like we are playing this game and we always want to get to a good result. But when we come down, not to solving the external problems, but solving our internal challenges, like here, from depressing going to the flourishing. And now we'll look at technologies as a solution for that. But there's this question mark. Is what exactly we're going to build into this solution to achieve what we want? And let's look how technologies actually are interacting with us, or how we are interacting with technologies. There should be sound on this video. So the younger guy is a driver, and the older guy is a road. Here we go. This is a social campaign to address a big issue, right? So we have 2 great innovations in that video, car and a phone. If they were traveling around autonomously, most likely there won't be a big problem. But now we have this third element, which is a human being with a human mind. And we get into trouble. So therefore, we need to look what actually is behind that. And this is exactly what Nicole said yesterday in the morning. The question, the answer, and the solution is connected to the human mind. And the more we understand about it, the better. And in this case, of course, if we look at the work of Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky about thinking fast and slow, we have two inbuilt reactive systems in our brain. One is reactive, instinctive, impulsive, emotional. That's system one, 500 million years. The other one, the blue part, intelligent, rational, analytical, but slow. And if we question back to the video, both of these systems, how did they perform? Poorly. That's one of the reminders why we should remind ourselves that our brains are just trying their best to create the understanding of reality, and not always perfect. You know, there are these books about optical illusions. You know how some other people say about them? How they should be called? Brain failures. Exactement. So, this is a recent research study we did with one researcher in Germany, and the expectation that knowledge leads to behavior. There is a link, but it's very weak. So we will tell the people what to do, and they will do it. The other thing is, people put on the way carrots and sticks, old-fashioned way of motivating to get to the behavior. But we ran a scientific study, and it turns out, not surprisingly, we wanted just to validate that. The strongest path is from the knowledge to the acceptance. So people accept it as something meaningful for their lives, the new information, the new technology. The next is from the acceptance to intention. Intention means acting on it, not only knowing it, not only accepting it, but also acting on it. And the last is, then after you accepted it, you intend to do something about it. When you intend to do something about it, then you can get to the action. This is an example how we are reacting to other people without even thinking about that. This is what I point out as a contrast to the old-fashioned motivators like carrots and sticks, rewards and punishments. So if you go on the street and you see this happening, like 10 years ago I showed a picture without phones, so now we have phones, and so we see this. What do? Your reactive system, and then your logical, analytical, slow system is there anything there? Oh. So why don't we use this in our tech design, in our cities, as the amplifier for the motivation for the people who want to change? This is a study that has done in a Prudential Tower in Boston. I think that was one of the tallest towers in the United States. So there are these regular people in the elevator, and the rest are the scientists. So scientists come in an elevator and face the back of the wall. What happens? We all have that. Why don't we use it for our own benefit? So that's one of the main messages in my talk. So now reflecting, and this is the statistics about sales of electric cars in California. And it's great, one of the greatest places in this topic. And another thing that I discussed recently, it's not only how the sales go up, but how the owners of the cars, and now we have access to that data, actually are clustered, which means we look at the other neighbors. And because the neighbors live in the same neighborhood, they most likely are similar to us. And they rather ride the electric vehicle. So I also will consider buying one. And that's social influence, nothing about the speed of the charging, the distance and everything, because the neighbor has it. So coming back to how to get from depressing to the flourishing, we have to use the social influence, the positive other people around us that actually have managed to get their well-being together, and use that as empowerment and as a design into technologies to help them overcome that challenge. So to summarize, there are 3 types of change. And before getting into that, reminder about carrots and sticks that are usually used to emphasize or to help or to facilitate change. But most of the changes happen in transaction, which means I do it one time. So I sign up for the gym. That's a transaction. I got the gym membership. The next is transition, which is expected, so you actually go to the gym for a year, for example. But it doesn't promise anything. So what else can be for the instinctive? It's exactly that. For the instincts, we have social influence, and this is how we get into the transformation. Another secret for you. What's the difference between transition and transformation? Because transition is supposedly a long period of time with the expectation that it will continue. The trick is it has an endpoint. What it means for our brain, it's a mental jail. We put ourselves into that. 30 days without sugar, 30 days without cigarettes. We wait for the 30 days to end. We have to remove that. And this requires us to reconsider our identity in that question and actually to become a new person in that specific question. And again, look at the upper corners. We need to create carrots and sticks, rewards and punishments. They are artificial to our nature. Social influence is humane. This is what our operational system has inbuilt over the thousands of years. So let's get it more practical. So for example, a city wants to get flourishing, so which means it's green arrow. Every decision the city makes has to land on that arrow. The tiniest decision that lands somewhere else, like say, okay, this year let's just skip this garbage sorting for a month. You automatically land on a different arrow. That's how geometry works. It's just like these people who say, I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. But this one, because of this bad day, because of all the consequences, automatically places the person on a different arrow, which means it leads to a different outcome, to a different person in the end. We can look at the other examples. And if you look, for example, about work-life balance, which means if you're on a green arrow, your balance is right. If you go more upwards, there is more work. If you go more downwards, you have more life. But you are not having the balance in it. The essence is getting where you want to get. And this is maybe the last one, meditation hour. So if you're meditating 1 hour a day, you are in a green arrow. If you are meditating less, you're in a yellow arrow. Or if you are doing something else for an hour, reading a book, you are on the other end of this arrow. This is how it works. This is how transformation works. Out of all of this knowledge that I've studied during my PhD and postdoc at MIT, I collected scientific insights how the transformation can be demystified first and then implemented in technology design. So this is transforming framework. It has 8 applicable tools. 4 tools out of 8 is to discover the root cause and the context around it. You see orange, 1, 2, 3, 4. Get the understanding of what you are going to be solving. That's one of the biggest problems of our world today. We are solving without knowing what we are solving. And then 5, 6, and 7, we're designing it using the social influence and other principles. And then ethics is a very crucial part of any influential technology. Here we go. We build technologies to remind ourselves we live in a dangerous world. Again, directly to our brainstem, directly to our primal instinctive instincts. But the question is, it's difficult to scale, right? So the next crossroad, what the person will do, they look for the green light, they look for cars, and they look for the stand. And if the stand is not there, okay, I'm okay to cross in the red. So therefore, we need to look for solutions that are scalable. So this is the study we did at MIT with how people commute to work, and we looked at the bicycling. And pretty much the general idea of how many employees and how many miles they ride, and to give the access to this information not only to the participants, but put that on a screen in the office so everyone can see that. So there are 2 people watching the screen, 1 person arrived with a bike, the other person arrived with other transportation mode. They have a discussion. Our company is number 3. The company at place number 2 has 2 miles ahead of us. And then the other person who came with the other transportation mode says, actually, I have a bike. I ride it on the weekends. And actually, this new bike lane from my home is just 3 miles. If I had come today, we would be number 2. That's how these systems actually make everything transparent and actually empower people to make smarter decisions or more eco-friendly decisions. Generally speaking, and this is tool number 4, we always have people who achieve what they want. We always have people that will never change in that particular behavior. And then we have people of January 1st. What's so special about January 1st? We want to be living better lives. But how it works, so once we show the positive example of other people, we have a social pull. So we enable the yellow people to change. And then as they look at the green other people, they change their identity and start to become like them. So they get more empowered just by example of other people. And then imagine what happens. So when the yellow person becomes green, it becomes part of the influence. So it's like the eternal engine, perpetuum mobile. And we can implement these systems, and it just continues working. And what happens in this study as well, so the lady in purple is the regular person. All others are scientists. And then they take the scientists away one by one. And the regular person stays alone. So they stand up on a beep. There's a beep in the room. And these are regular people coming in now. This is real. So somebody asked just me, is this real? This is real. This is us. We have it all the time. You look, now you are smarter. Now you will go out and we'll see it all the time. We constantly react to others. We influence. We look what, you walk in a room, for example, and you see whether that's... Yeah, let's try this. Very nice. So that's the power we always have had. And if you think about cities, and there are multiple technology developers asking this question, what measures shall we address? I'm saying, you can address any measure you want, but you have to understand how to amplify the power of your technology. Because in the city, you will have people that are great in balance of their lives. You have people that are great in consciousness, great in everything. You just need to build technology to capture who they are, where they are, what they do, how frequently they do, and then exhibit that information unobtrusively to those people who are willing to get more balanced and more conscious. This is the MIT Media Lab, where I worked for 3 years. These are my colleagues, Luis, Arnaud, and Ryan. And this is how you can simulate and play with the different metrics in a city environment and plan what has to be changed architecturally, physically, infrastructurally, to influence different kind of parameters like walkability, access to parks, and so forth. Then we run different technologies to extract data from the phone. So Bluetooth, nice technology, can extract, that's by the way me with the old hairstyle, extract step count, and they can be used as a currency. Then we worked on persuasive electric mobility, and that's still me 4 years ago. And we looked at how people use the electric assist for the vehicles, like this one, or use pedaling. And we use that data collection to empower the next rider to inform how many previous riders on this particular vehicle actually pedaled. And then coming closer a little bit to the business, there are this constant question how people arrive late to the meetings. And what we did, we implemented a simple system just to prove how the social influence works. So from the first meeting where 65% were on time, we got up to this 100% for the last 3 meetings. So in 8 meetings, in less than a month. What did we do? Very simple technology to test it. Computer to mark who is on time, who is not, and the screen which shows you got the color if you're on time, you don't get the color if you're not on time. So the red bar is the maximum number of meetings. Of course, you can imagine these bars are small in the beginning, so it doesn't really work. But then closer to the end, you get all the 100 people arriving on time. And this is one of the last examples. It's a Higi kiosks. These are around the United States. They allow you to measure blood pressure and weight. And you can use it anonymously or registered account. So business wanted to give the opportunity to register accounts more so they could connect, and people would be able to access their previous measurements. So we introduced this extra user interface, which said, after they give out their gender and age, how many similar other actually improve their vitals just by having the account. And that one simple thing, the communication increased for the overall group 20%, conversion rate from anonymous to the account holders, and for the weight concerned group, 32%. So coming back to the transforming cities, it glues together research, business, tech, and humane flourishing. That's it for today. That's a gateway to the transformation, transforms.me, if anyone is interested to know more about that. Thank you.